Peace and blessings to the gods and goddesses that's out there. Really just to the gods, because God's representation of both genders. Right now, there is a problem in the world. There's multiple problems, right? But let's start from a physical. One of the biggest problems in the physical is obesity, right? A high percentage of men and women are obese in this country, and that throws off their hormonal balances, right? And you can look at your body and you can tell whether you're having some of these issues yourself, right? Low energy, emotional hormone cycles. And this goes for men and women, right? Lack of willfulness to want to do things. You know that there are so much opportunity out there, right? But you wonder, why don't you have this ability to manifest things into reality? How come you're not structured and ordered and willful to the challenge, right, of producing things in reality? And a lot of us, men and women, are going through that. Hyper distraction, right? There's a hyper issue with the lack of focus in today's time because of doom scrolling and how these social media apps throws off our focus completely. You are a high being. You do have the ability to manifest. You have great ideas. But what's missing is the execution part. You play in the realm of imagination and you stay stuck to the potential of things versus the reality of them. And you wonder, why aren't you producing and manifesting in a time that you live in? And I understand why that may be persistent. There's a lot going on, and you should be a part of, right, the going on. You should be a part of the motion. You should be a part of the execution and the order, right? You're seeing people flourish in their businesses, and you're tired of being at, whether you're stuck at the level you at. You could be making $10,000 a month or $100,000 a month, and you're trying to figure out, how do I flourish? How do I grow? Or some people are not focusing their masculine or feminine thinking, right? So we're going to mentality-wise. That masculine thinking of being assertive, right? To having the physical attributes, to the mental attributes, to having that willful spirit, to walking in a room and you change the atmosphere and the way women perceive you, the way women perceive you, and the way women perceive you. And all of that matters. All of that is key because it's going to represent the amount of success you're able to produce in reality, right? And so the goal is looking at it in a sense of, how do I get, as a man, how do you get into your full masculine thinking? And the reason that you want to get into that, because you're going to increase your social relationships, right? You're going to know how to maintain social relationships. You're going to become more courageous in the things that you do as you walk in, stomach in, chest out, head up. You're going to know how to communicate better. You're going to know how to think clearer, being precise, being able to create a plan, stick to the plan, and execute it, which goes to discipline, focus, grit, right? And women are going to want you more in the sense that they're going to see the light and the dark, and being able to balance out your light and the dark traits. You never get stuck with wondering, why the hell am I, you can attract women, but you can't keep them, right? And it seems that other men have the ability of higher attracting powers, and it's not their ability, and it's not their ambition because they have money and things of that nature. That's what you have to understand. I think that's a false equivalence to why. You're looking at a symptom, right? But not the root. And getting to the root goes into how to tap into what I've learned throughout time. And I had to learn this through a lot of diligence. I had to learn this through a lot of experience. I had to learn this through, life, how to tap into your light and your dark side. And that goes into a deep framework, right, of masculine thinking that allows you to persist throughout the world, get respect from men, get respect from women, right? Men that want to be like you or work with you, right? And women that want to love you and help you manifest and bring things into fruition and work with you, right? There's a lot of game that kind of goes into that, but a lot of people are not privy to this. So, and on the feminine side, a lot of women are stuck in cycles, and they don't understand why they're particularly attracting the same cycles of things in life. And, we start to look outside of ourselves, right? Karmic cycles and cosmic cycles, but it really goes deeper into your mental, right? And the way you design yourself and the training that you go through, right? And so this is why some women, they're in a dark place right now because a trauma happened to them and they don't know how to get out of that trauma. They're stuck in it. It's looping in their body, right? And it's looping in their mind. And when it loops in your body, it shows up in different ways, right? It shows up in how you eat. It shows up in how you treat yourself. It shows up in how you attract others, how you socialize. It shows up in the anxiety that you get from being around others because of the insecurity that you have being within yourself, thinking that people can see, right, the way you were treated before, or the way you see yourself, right? So it goes deep into having an imbalance of feminine energy. And a woman is meant to flow. When she flows, that's when all energy calls to her, right? That's when she has a higher ability to project things and manifest things and nurture things. So what happens with a lot of women is when you're missing one thing in your life, whether that's part of you or whether that's in your environment, which causes an imbalance, you tend to take on those things that you miss, right? So if you're missing masculine energy in your life, then you're going to take on that masculine energy. Unfortunately, women, the feminine energy, I shouldn't say women, I say the feminine energy in today's society have this thing where you end up taking on a lot of the things that you tend to dislike as well. So not just the things that you like. So you may call them toxic masculine, but then you take on the toxic masculine energy as well in a way that you reflect it outward. Niggas ain't shit. I'm gonna treat niggas like they ain't shit. So something toxic happened to you, then you treat the world toxic. So you become the thing you hate because it's what you're consuming the most. So when you consume the hatred, when you consume the fear, that's what you have to project back out in the world because you are a birther. So you have to understand how to balance out that feminine energy so that you're not giving birth to the things that you're constantly thinking about, digesting and feeling, because that's what you reflect and that's what you become. So your world is not, your world is not particularly, the collective reality. Your world is the way that you perceive things, the way you feel things, the way you think about things. So that's going to be a deep one as we get into that. Yes, my sister Kalima is very powerful in breaking that down as well. She is an oracle in a way that she is able to be divinely in tune with things. She's like a female version of myself. So you get to tap in with that as well. So once you're able to clear that energy and you find that balance, you stop living in those cycles and you see life flourish and flow for you. Today I just got some new plants in the house and I was paying attention to the plant. I walked downstairs, I looked at the plant and I realized the plant hadn't woken up. The plant was limp, it was down, all of its leaves were pointing down, and I looked at the other plant and it was high, it had sprouted, right? It was growing. And so what I had to do is I took a second to think about it. And what I noticed in that environment instantly, right, was that one plant was getting some light because most of the living room was dark. But most of the one plant that was up, it was getting some light. Now, these particular plants don't need that much light. They don't need to be in direct sunlight. Otherwise, the leaves will burn and they will die out. All they need is enough light to let them know that it's time to wake up, because I believe it's called diurnal cycle, I forget what it's called, but it's when a plant receives light and it lets you know what time it is so it can operate right on the cycle of the day. So I had to open up the blinds, I let light in, and lo and behold, 30 minutes later, the leaves were pointing to the sky almost. It was high. And I think about that and I bring that up for a reason, because taking care of something like a plant, right, is a feminine thing. It's feminine care, right? You become a nurturer. So the feminine eye is able to observe what is correct and what is incorrect in reality, right? So when a woman has that feminine eye and she has that ability to nurture things, she is the one that's going to pay attention to the small things. She makes small fixes and it creates big corrections in life, right? Without that feminine eye, you're going to be reacting to things being off balance, but not knowing why, right? And when a woman is in tune with her feminine self, she has an intuitive power to know this without having to think about it and go through the logical process that, I may go through and filter these things. She's going to be intuitive. She's just going to look at it and open up the blinds and give it light, and it becomes instant. And it's the same thing that she does with you. She may notice something within you and she may speak a light to you. You understand me? And she sets you on a proper rhythm and path. She noticed that within herself and she can nurture herself. But if a woman is not going through trauma and hurt and pain, that means she doesn't have the ability to heal and nurture herself. So if her feminine energy is not properly able to balance herself, then it creates an imbalance with her world. right? So she doesn't have that, and when she does use that for the world, it feels like she's using twice as much energy, right? Because now not only is she's neglecting herself, you know what I'm saying, while she's pointing out, and there's no amount of reciprocation that can get her to heal until she points that energy to self, requiring a cycle of selfishness to where she's able to move forward in the world. Now, most people, when they go through things, men and women, they don't balance out life. They don't heal. So when we be like, that triggers me, and people be like, yo, you go trigger all these women that haven't healed yet. There's a problem in society when we walk around people that haven't healed versus focus on the healing factor. The healing factor is meaning that relationship you went through, that molestation that you had, that insecurity that was provoked, that lack of being connected to something, lack of father in the homes or proper mothering, or right, whatever it is that happened, it was properly healed, and you learn from it and you move forward. And there's protocols to be able to go through that. So the problem is we're getting used to living in an unhealed society, and instead of focusing on the aspect of healing, we try to walk around not triggering, right? Which is kind of like saying you have a wound on your arm that you keep peeling off, and instead of focusing on allowing it to heal and stop touching it, you're telling everybody to don't look at it because it makes me insecure that I have this wound, right? Don't touch it, or I can't move too much. You're being too rough with me. Like, go heal that. So that's no longer there. So we're not focusing too much energy on that part of you that we have to walk around when you shouldn't even be dealing with it, because you should have learned that lesson, healed it properly, then move forward. But this is what happened to us. So this is why we have the society that we do have. This is why, going back to the root, as I started off with obesity, right? Obesity comes from unhealed traumas, right? It comes from unhealed psyches. It comes from trauma in the body, the mind, the spirit, right? Because we try to create closer relationships with things to balance us out. You're not getting love in life. You don't have, and you create faux intimacy. So it's false intimacy. We create faux rewards, and we use food to comfort us, right? Because that food is going to give us that serotonin release, making us feel good. So instead of getting that, right, and if you're a woman, getting that from, nurturing and loving relationships, right? Instead of a man getting that from producing something outward in his mind. And I was thinking about this today because I'm redesigning a brand new brand and doing some things and working with some people on helping them scale their brand, right? And I had designed something, and it wasn't even like crazy, but it was matter of fact, it was a hat. So I had designed it. First I sketched it out, designed it on the phone, and it was that process of saying, I want to see what this looks like in reality. Got the hat done, right? Like I said, something small. But I stopped to be grateful of the whole process. Like, yo, you did that. You came up with the new design. Now you're going to be able to, create money from that, or getting a flow of money from that, rather. And I was just super happy off that fact. And then it makes me want to go do more, right? Designing and producing. And instead, what happens when a man has a thought in his mind, and this is why it's dangerous for boys, because boys don't build things, boys don't produce things, boys dream, right? Boys only dream, because dreaming is just the first thought of protocol. But when you only dream and you don't execute, then you have no proof that you're a man. And this is why it's dangerous. And see, that constant, consistent proof, right? It lasts a very long time. Now, it don't last forever. You can't create one thing and be happy forever, right? You have to constantly prove to yourself that you're still a working man, right? And this is understand this framework. Something can be it, but it cannot be working. It can be broken. A clock that does not move, that doesn't have batteries, it's still a clock, but it's not a working clock, right? So as a man, the reason we have to be charged in motions, and we have to constantly, right, be working in the operation of our nature, is because we have to be working men that prove that we work. We have to be in operation with some sort of purpose, which is very powerful. And what that does is it heals the necessity for stimulation outside of achievement. Achievement is such a high level of stimulation. When we produce something in reality, we are stimulated. It's orgasmic. You can go into that nature of that thought, and it can last you for days, if not weeks, if not months, depending on the level of achievement. This is why a lot of men, we like creating art. Art allows you to achieve something. I had a thought, I drew it, that's done. The problem is it's only half the work. When it's half the work, you're left with the ability to get reciprocation from your manifestations. I'm probably going in too deep, man. Let me stop, man. I'm going all the way into the science. I'm going all the way into the science. Let me stop, man. Y'all gonna have to pull up for the webinar. I be catching myself on these rhythms. Let me stop. I got other announcements. The other announcement is, of course, make sure you comment high level to be a part of the webinar. Also, for those that's in LA, and when we get out to Atlanta, we're going to be doing uniform hikes. So uniform hikes is community hikes that we do, but you have to have on, of course, some of the high level gear, because it's also our community and it's also our brand. So this is going to be great because we're going to make this really consistent. So as we're talking about health, I want to do something active to get us in motion, right? I believe that, as I wrote down this post, it talked about how exercise is more powerful than, the drugs that people take to try to cure obesity and mental health issues and all of that. So the high level first tier is free. So you can be a part of the community. Don't worry about it. Be a part of the conversation. But here's the thing, and we teach you how to make money. We teach you how to do a lot of different things, but that's not the pure focus, because we focus on wealth from a holistic standpoint. Holistic wealth is the key, right? We want to have money. We want to have, money for emergencies, money for our ideas. Think about it. The average person doesn't have $1,000 saved away for an emergency, right? The average person don't have $10,000, right, to invest in their business, or have business credit, right, or know how to set it up, things of that nature. And then a lot of people don't know how to scale. So the things that I teach, I only teach what I know and what I do. First of all, the best class on communication, how to become a highly effective communicator, a better speaker, which changes all aspects of life when you learn how to master the throat chakra, the ability to speak. I've been studying this for I've been studying this, because I've been speaking since I was before middle school and elementary school. So it's 20 plus years now, right? And this is how I've been able to master speaking. People think that it just comes easy, right? No. First of all, you got to have confidence, but there's all of these frameworks and sciences and tricks to learn how to become a better speaker, right? And the class that I'm putting together on high-level communication is going to change the game, right? I was talking earlier today, and I'm like, I speak, and people be having the expectation that they may want, women have the expectation that they may want their man to speak that way. And I'm like, listen, you can't have that expectation, because it's a skill set that you have to hone and develop. Being able to communicate your mind and your ideas and your thoughts and have them flow easily, that's a skill set. And it's a very powerful and expensive skill set, right? People will pay me up to $40,000 to go speak, right? Because I've honed this in. Right, and then of course I built the brand around it and things of that nature. But first, it was because of my ability to speak. So first time I ever got paid $500 to come speak at a college, not because I had a large brand at the time. I had 500 plus followers. I had 523 followers, and somebody paid me to come speak. And I was thinking I had fired my job at that point, and I'm thinking wait a minute, my job paid me $20-some an hour. This was 2017, right? And I got commission plus. And when I fired them, because I was getting paid 6 figures plus, the commission, but I started calculating how much was I getting paid an hour? And I'm like, you only want me to speak for an hour? You gonna pay me $500? That's $500 an hour. And that changed my mind and my game. I'm like, wait a minute. just to speak, just to hear my mind and my thoughts. And I understood how powerful speaking is, because you can motivate and you can inspire people, and that sticks with them forever, right? And you have the ability to educate, you have the ability to sell, you have the ability to clearly communicate ideas. And no matter what, the ability to speak well will always be valuable, regardless of AI, whatever takes over, because that's not going to change the need to communicate ideas in real life to people. And it's the passion that's valuable, right? Being able to be, there's different styles of speakers, and I study all different styles, and I teach all different styles, because I can speak in all styles. But once you learn some of these secrets, it's going to change, and you're going to become such a clear and better communicator, and people are going to understand you, and what you mean will be understood, and people are going to respond to you much better. You're going to be able to close deals, get sales. It's going to increase your relationship. You'll probably be able to open up opportunities for, being hired as a public speaker, be able to create better content, just overall in life, being able to communicate with people more, right? Which makes you a much more attractive person to be around in the first place. So, for the high level club, those sort of things will be available for our platinum members. Just every time we do these master classes, our platinum members will get access to that. And we're going to be teaching our branding, our content side, how to create your podcast, 7-figure to 6-figure podcast. There's so many different things that we teach that allow us to be great with it. So the active community, that's going to be love. How many of you all will go to a bonfire? But how many of you all will go to a bonfire and a hike with a community? I'm gonna be dropping some clips from my last one that we did. It was fire. It was amazing, because it was a small circle, and being able to have that close quarter conversation, very tribal sense. It felt very spiritual in nature. It felt very sacred, right? I just love that ritual process. That was powerful. And so we want to be able to do those and make those more frequent, because we don't have, I was looking at a post from Billy Carson, and there's a white guy explaining how fire vibrates at hertz of 10 hertz frequency, right? And so saying that when you're around fire, particularly, you start to connect to that frequency as well. You start to vibrate on that frequency. And so for me, I love being in the elements, but fire is also a purifier, right? Purifying thought, purifying self, purifying spirit. And we look at the Native Americans that was around those elements a lot, and being able to fellowship around these create higher bonds and connections. It allows us to be able to free ourselves, being able to take off our shoes, being able to ground, being in this connection of a circle with others. There's such a therapeutic aspect to this that we're missing on a daily basis. So we want to make this a weekly, monthly thing, to where you have that, because families need to do it, friends need to do it, right? Everybody needs to do it. So we have a hike coming up. Inshallah, we might be doing it this weekend out here in California, in the Los Angeles area, right? And we're going to be telling you all the rules to be involved. So make sure you join High Level Club and join the book club so you can get all the notifications. But until then, y'all have a beautiful and a blessed day. Peace to the family.